Let it go.
Let it go. Well,
No.
Okay, Marlena, you got perfect pitch.
come on. Where's the
Doesn't mean I
microphone?
can sing today.
If you don't do perfect pitch, I'm gonna carry on. Let it
Oh, no.
go. Let it go.
Let it go. Let it
There's
go.
also a time in your life when you have to realize that if your voice doesn't work today, sometimes it's okay to just not use it. And as I get older and my allergies are going crazy, I know when it's appropriate to use my voice and when it's not. And as a professional singer, it's really important to not put it out there if it's not working properly. So I can talk to you, but I'm not going to sing today. So that's where I'm at.
Oh,
But
well,
today we're talking about letting go. And so since they left it to me, I'm going to start us out. So I'm here today with MJ and Irene, and we're talking about letting it go because there are times when it's appropriate to get rid of something in your life that is not necessary to what you're trying to do with your life anymore. So maybe it's people, maybe it's things, maybe it's a way
singing.
of thinking, more things, but definitely things that we need to let go in our lives. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So Irene, you had a story about your mother's table. Why don't you tell us about her table?
Well, we are moving, as you know. I won't be talking about moving in the next month or so because I'll have moved. Yay! It's been months. Anyways, I have this table and it's beautiful to look at, but the chairs are broken. Every single one of them needs repairing. And it's going to cost me more to get it repaired than to buy a new one. So, yeah, it's got a lot of sentimental value, but I think it's okay to let it go. And I think it's time. I will be sad when I see it go, but it is time.
So
It's a time and a season.
are there other things that your mother left to you that are more important?
Well, there is a little clock on my mantelpiece that I will have on my mantelpiece. I will take it and that will be my memento because I know that meant a lot to her. And it meant a lot to her that I have it. So I think that will be kept forever
Sure.
because that was something she said, Irene, I really want you to have this little clock. Um, and every time you look at it, it'll remind you of me. And and that's what I'm going to keep.
Nice.
But I
Nice.
don't need the table. Too big. And
Sometimes you have to just let it go for because it doesn't serve your purposes anymore, right? And so um in my line of business, it's important that we are holding on to the things that are going to serve us and getting rid of the things that are not going to serve us any longer. And so when it comes to belongings, in order to make sure that we're carrying out the business that God has for us to do, it's really important to make sure that we're not bogged down by cleaning things or doing things with, something else that's going to keep us from doing his work. And so, if the table was in good condition, now because you are moving, you would have to determine if it's worth the truck fees that it takes to move it, or if it's you know or if it's just not worth taking at all. Sometimes it is what it is, and we all have those hard decisions to make. And I think that it takes a lot of prayer and a lot of thought to work through the emotions that we have that goes with all of those things that we're holding on to so tightly, right?
Exactly. And I do have a lot of mementos. I've got beautiful stuff that she's left me, and I will hang on to those. And I just, yeah, this is, it'll cost me thousands of dollars to get it fixed.
Right. That's a lot.
And
MJ,
my mother was, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
you're go. Go.
I thought that, my mother was a very sensible woman, and she would probably think the same thing. Like, what are you hanging on to broken chairs for?
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Use wisdom.
Are you an only child, Irene?
No, I'm not.
Oh.
I have a brother. Well, I had a brother and I have a sister.
Oh. I have 4 sisters. Yeah. I don't know if we I don't know if that should be a topic or not, but yeah. Do you have anything else you want to share, Marlena?
Well, I think Irene was talking about the letting go of the things that are sentimental. And then I would like, I was talking about the fact that we sometimes you just need to get rid of things that are just not serving you. So, if it's not what is her name? I think it's Marie Kondo talks about, if it doesn't make you happy, then don't keep it. And
It
that's
doesn't
true
bring
to
you
a
joy.
point.
Mm.
It's true to a point, but life doesn't always make us happy. And so I don't think that the things that you keep, like my soap, does that make me happy? Sometimes it's just something that I use, because I need to wash my hands. Um, in order for me to wash my hands and be happy while I'm washing my hands, I go buy a particular hand soap that makes me happy when I smell it, because it smells like vanilla beans and or peppermint, but not everything we use is meant to make us happy. Sometimes the things that we have are just meant to be used. And so it's better to get rid of something that isn't serving you appropriately for the life that you're meant to live. And if you don't know what your life is meant to be yet, then it's really hard to know that for sure. I remember in high school I would collect things for my new life, right? I'm going to move out. And so I had a blender and a toaster, and I had blankets, and I had little red kitchen utensils. And when I got into my new apartment, I hung all these little red mini utensils on the wall to decorate my kitchen with little red utensils, because I couldn't find big red utensils at the time. And I was just enamored with these little tiny red utensils. And there was a whisk that was this big, that you could whisk one egg, but literally nothing else with it. So it's kind of dumb, but it made me happy, right, in the moment. But then as I got older and recognized, little tiny utensils hanging on the wall just collect dust, it wasn't serving the purpose that I needed them to serve. So then I found better, bigger utensils for my cooking that were more appropriate for what I needed to do. I made a lot of cakes and I made a lot of cookies and stuff, and a tiny whisk isn't going to do squat when you're trying to get those kinds of things done. So sometimes it's better to think that through. And and then the other thing is, don't worry about the money you spent. If you need to get rid of it, get rid of it, because it's not serving your purpose. And so it's okay to get rid of something that you spent $20 on, because if God needs you to have it again, it will be provided for. He'll provide you the money to buy a new one, or he'll provide somebody to give you one, or something like that. But if it doesn't serve your purpose in the next 5 years, it's just not something that needs to be held on to, because our homes are not storage units. Our homes are where we live, and we can't live if we're constantly covered in all of these things that don't serve the purposes that we have for our lives. And sometimes those decisions are really, really hard to make. And it's sometimes it's just really hard, but it's okay. It's okay to make the decision to hold on to it for a while until you've decided if it's a keeper or not. And sometimes it's okay to just get rid of it and replace it later if necessary, you know?
Yeah, I think we're in a different well, we're definitely in a different generation, but the thinking, I think, is far more different for the younger
Right.
generation than what I think we in our generation have more difficulty with this topic than probably they do. At least that's how I see, at least my children and some of their friends and whatnot, that, it's far more easier for them to let things go and make things simple, which,
Right.
I'm thankful, because I don't want them to have, there's some things that I would be honored that they would, follow suit, but I'm glad and believe that they learn from our situations, either what not to do or what they want to do, and I think that that generation is more apt to let things go a whole lot quicker than we have. And so, I don't know, maybe we're talking more to the older generation right now, that, if you
Maybe.
have things that you're struggling with, that find sentimental to let go, you know, um, it just, I mean, obviously, some of the tips that uh, organization tips that Marlena would give would be, I know a friend of mine and her daughter would say, so you've had this in the cabinet for how long? And it would be like, do you really need to get rid of it? I mean, do you really need to keep it? And, you know, so, that thought process of is, the serving the purpose kind of a thing, but I think for the younger generation, I think they kind of have that one in the bag. And if
Not
they
all of
don't, then
them.
I hope this will be helpful. But it comes from a different perspective for them, and uh,
Yeah,
something
I've got
sentimental, like my daughter. Well, most of my nieces and nephews took one very small thing from my mom when she passed away, and like my daughter kept a sugar bowl, and it was not even pretty, like it was just it's that sentimental thing that she remembers of her grandmother, and but yeah, keep it for a time. If it's not out in the open, it's not being displayed or used or bringing that good joy that Con Marie would do, um maybe find somebody that would be benefiting of it, that maybe it would bring them joy, and I've done that quite a few times, but yeah,
I
I think
I
I
have
just think it's different for
I have a couple of kids that are keepers. They like to keep everything. I know um, some younger women whose kids struggle to keep everything, like they collect rocks in their pockets when they're out and about, and have to keep every single drawing that they have, and everything is sentimental to them. And so I think it's yeah, you're right. The next generation seems to be more on a kick of um get rid of everything and live simply and more free, and I think that's great. But if you look at the different generations, in the 1800s, people didn't have very much at all, and they had dirt floors, and there might have been one sentimental item, like you know um, just a little keepsake doll that sat on the shelf, or letters from their parents or something like that. And then if you look at the World War II generation, they had more than their parents ever did, because it was the age of machinery and making things and stuff. And so they ended up having a lot more, but they understood the idea of using everything until it was gone. And that's where that saying came. um oh, what, I am at a loss for words today. The saying that talks about using it up. Anyway, because I can't think of that right now. But
We'll write it in the comics.
yeah. uh anyway, you know and then our grandparents were not part of World War I, where they had to save everything to use it again. But they were the children of those people who saved everything. So our grandparents are the ones they saved every piece of foil, on a foil ball, or they would iron the foil out to reuse it, wash it, reuse it again, kind of thing. And then our parents came along and they were like, well, we're not going to be like that. And we're not holding on to everything, except that they held on to everything that was sentimental to them, because they had to, or they didn't have to, but because they wanted to. And then our generation comes through, and now we're struggling. Our generation is struggling really badly. The people I work with, they're like, but my mother held on to these things because her mother held on to them, because they were born during the war, and they had to keep everything to reuse it. And my mother keeps it because she loved her mother so much that she can't let go of this giant foil ball that she's been saving her whole entire life. And then we come along and we're like, Mom, why are you holding on to a foil ball? Well, because of the stories that transpired for the last several generations. And we're like, but that it doesn't mean anything. But we can't rip that from her hands and say it doesn't mean anything. Just because it doesn't mean anything to you doesn't mean it doesn't mean something to somebody else. So I try to be super careful about making sure that you understand the things that you have in your house are the things that you want to have.
Exactly.
Okay, I have a Holly Hobby doll. Does she do anything for me? She makes me smile. That's it. You know why I like Holly Hobby? Because I had a sweet little doll just like this when I was a little girl, that rode in my little purse with me everywhere I went. And it just makes me happy, right? Is it necessary? Absolutely not. Are any of my boys going to want this stupid little doll? No. And that's okay. It's okay to hold on to something that you love because you get pure enjoyment out of it. It's okay to hold on to something that's necessary because you use it every day. It's not okay to hold on to 500 drawings from one child in a month. That's crazy. It's not okay to hold on to stacks and stacks and stacks of newspapers, because those kinds of things breed bugs, mice, and not every newspaper has value. But if you have one or two newspapers that you have articles in that are super important to you, then absolutely you should keep those. But most newspapers that I know of are held on digital somewhere within the place that you live in order to hold on to uh, there's a word that I can't pull up again. I'm having a hard time with words today. I'm so sorry. But there are people who do that. It's not our job to hold on to every single newspaper in our county because we're trying to preserve history. That's not our job necessarily, to preserve history. That's being done somewhere else, right? So if you've got a couple of articles, pull them out and absolutely keep them. I have the front page of the newspaper from the day my children were born. They went into their scrapbooks and that's it. But we didn't keep the whole newspaper. In Arizona, the newspaper's this thick. In Wyoming, the newspaper's this thick. You know, we just kept the front page. And because that's the important stuff happening for the day. And that's it. But if it doesn't serve you, if it's causing more problems, then those are the kind of things you want to get rid of. But it's not for me to walk into MJ's house and say, MJ, you have all of these things, these foil balls on your counter that are so unnecessary. Because what if MJ's doing something very significant to the calling on her life with those foil balls? I don't know that's what those are yet, you know? And there are kids that hold on to things even now. Because some of us went against our own generation doing things right, and these kids are going to go against their generation to do the things they want to do it different. So it's always going to be there. And we have more stuff than we've ever wanted or needed to have. And so at this point, I would like to encourage people to say, hey, if you know what God's call is on your life for the next 5 to 10 years, this is where I would say, get rid of the things you don't need. It's okay to hold on to an antique because antiques continue to add value. It's not okay to hold on to things that are causing stress or causing more more necessity to clean. You don't want to hold on to that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Or
No, I think the
fix.
what's that?
Or cost more to fix.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Probably the topic could have been more of being able to communicate, our generation being able to communicate with the younger generation.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like
when my children each have moved out of my house, they took all of their belongings with them because I didn't feel like it was appropriate for me to be responsible for holding on to their stuff while they live their lives, because then I can't live mine. So there comes a point in time where you have to say, I am so sorry that I can't continue to hold on to this for you. If you want it, I'm going to need you to take it and to do with it what you're going to do. And if you don't, then I'm going to need you to take it and do with it what you need to do. Because then that way I'm not responsible. I don't feel like I threw something away that I wasn't responsible for. I don't feel like I have to continue the upkeep on that item. Like Irene's chairs, you know, I don't have to work my life around boxes in my living room that belong to somebody else. Sometimes you have to draw a line and just say, I can no longer be responsible for your stuff. So I'm going to need you to come pick it up, and you are welcome to do with it whatever you want or need to do. But it cannot be in my home any longer because it's causing problems in my home. And it doesn't matter what those problems are. Maybe it's causing a physical problem. Maybe it's causing emotional issues. Maybe it's causing space issues. It doesn't even matter. But for you, if it's no longer appropriate in your home, then it needs to leave. So you're not responsible for something that belongs to somebody else. How now, here's the other caveat. If it's in somebody else's home and it's bothering you, you have to let it go. It's not your problem. So
Yeah,
again, if I go
that
to
wouldn't be for
MJ's
me, but
house,
yeah.
right? If
I
I go
mean,
to MJ's house and I don't like her foil balls, that's not my problem,
yeah.
right? I
Oh,
love
yeah, yeah.
you, and I can ask you, are these necessary in the event of trying to maybe be helpful? And I get that. Um, but sometimes you have to walk away and go, she's got these funny foil balls on the counter that I don't know why she has them. And if your children don't understand why you're holding on to something, then maybe you explain to them it's holding so much sentimental value to me that I can't let go of this right now. And that is okay because it's your home.
I think what we really need to realize is that you can hang on to things for so long and then it's time. And then just, just minimal. You don't have to keep everything.
Mm,
Right.
And
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's the point, like with my table, is I don't have to hang on to absolutely everything of my mother.
yeah. And it's the memory. It's not necessarily the object. The object brings that memory, it brings the feeling and everything. But if we can, you know, encourage one another and saying that it's the memory of that sentimental value that we have that we can hang on to. So um
Exactly.
I don't know if we
That
even got
saying, yeah,
that's all.
that saying
Mm,
is they used to use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. And so, I mean, it really still holds value today, right? It sounds old and everything, but it still has value because if you're not using the soap that you don't like because you don't like it, then there's no point in holding on to the soap. You need to get rid of it and get something that you like, right? I am absolutely one of those people who will buy shampoo and then not like it and hold on to it because I spent all this money on it. And I feel bad because I spent money on something that I'm not using anymore. It's okay to get rid of it, right?
yeah.
Wear it out. Wear your clothes until they can't be repaired anymore. Now that's kind of different in our society. It's really easy to go down to a used store and get clothes that are new to us that are much cheaper and stuff. And so there's a difference in that. But I tend to buy stuff that is a little bit more wearable. And so I will replace the button or fix a hole on something before I get rid of it because I like the things that I have so much. Make it do or do without. And it just so you're doing that, right? If you're using your foil balls, then you can keep your foil balls. It seems like a funny thing, but there are people who really did do that at one time. I don't know that they do that anymore, but there are people who did that and they used them, right? And so if there was a hole in the foil, my grandmother would just cover it with another piece of foil off the foil ball, and then they washed them again. And I would be like, Grandma, this has to go. It's got holes. Oh, you kids just don't understand. And that's true. Sometimes our next generation doesn't understand us any more than we don't understand our parents' generation.
That's
But
probably
they're
the bottom line is just to be
really,
understanding.
yeah, be understanding with others and the things that they have. But if it's you and you're evaluating your own situation, if you aren't going to use it, if you know you're not going to use it, then get rid of it. And it's okay to do that because I'm telling you, grandma didn't want you holding on to something that is causing you to bang your shin on it every single day you walk past it. Grandma doesn't want you working harder to dust your shelf. So I think it's okay to go ahead and let things go that we just don't need to use. That's all I
Okay.
have.
Well, thank you so much, Marlena, for all your wisdom and input. And
And you too, Irene.
Uh-huh, and MJ.
we'll see you the next time.